Today I'm going to talk about the 5 simple things you can do to burn body fat. Intermittent fasting, extending your fasting time, lowering your caloric intake, cutting out ultra-processed foods, and eating Mediterranean style. That's how I eat. Let's dive in. First, this is the food tip. Fast intermittently if you want to lose body fat. Here's how it basically works. When you're eating, your insulin levels are up because your body wants to draw energy into your cells to power you up. But when you're not eating for a long period of time, you're fasting. And when you're fasting, your insulin levels go down. And when your insulin levels go down, what happens is that your metabolism switches gears into fat burning mode. From fat growing mode, storing energy, to fat burning mode. And that's what happens with intermittent fasting. And it is something that you should actually try to do if you are actually burning body fat. Here's the good news. You do intermittent fasting every single day when you're sleeping. So when you're sleeping, you're not eating. And when you're not eating, you're fasting. So intermittently fasting means having dinner, going to bed, waking up, having breakfast. That's intermittent fasting. So there's no mystery about that. The key is the second tip that I'm about to give you, which is to extend your fasting time as long as possible. Now, if you want to extend your fasting time as long as possible, I know there are people talking about 16 and 8. I can tell you it's very difficult for someone like me, even though I'm pretty disciplined, to be able to squeeze all my eating into 8 hours. I've got meetings, I've got business responsibilities, I'm traveling, I got projects going on. It's just super tough for me to actually do that every single day for a long period of time. And if you want to actually lose body fat, you got to be able to do something that you can commit to for a while. You don't need to commit to sleeping. You're going to be sleeping. So here's how you extend that fasting time. And this is like my personal little tip, little trick, pro tip for you that anybody can actually do. All right. First of all, let's assume that you're going to sleep 8 hours a day, right? So let's call that 11 o'clock to 7 in the morning. Right? That's 8 hours. Maybe you sleep a little bit later. Maybe you go to sleep a little earlier. Doesn't really matter, but let's use that as an example. Go to bed at 11, get up at 7. You got 8 hours of sleep. Now, during that 8 hours, remember I told you, insulin levels go down, your metabolism shifts gear as if you are a sports car, a Ferrari. And in that shifted gear mode, your body starts to burn down excess harmful body fat, calories that you might have accumulated during the day or the day before, or the day before that, or the weekend before. And so that's actually how you get the benefit. So how do you extend that period of time? Here's how you actually do it. Now, let's say that you eat dinner at 7 o'clock, all right? And again, this is just an example, and you finish eating after an hour, all right? I do that frequently. Eat at 7, put your dishes away at 8, all right? Now, you're gonna go to bed at 11. So from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, 3 hours, don't eat anything. Don't eat. No midnight snack, no noshing. Don't bring a bag of snack foods with you to surf the internet, check your emails, watch Netflix, listen to a podcast. Don't. When your dishes go away or put away, that's it for the day. All right? You are done. Now, think about this. You eat at 7, finish at 8, put your dishes away, don't eat anything, and you're going to go to bed at 11. 3 hours of fasting you've added to the 8 hours that you're going to be sleeping, 11 to 7. 3 plus 8 is 11 hours. Now, you've increased your fasting from 8 hours to 11. If you actually had a midnight snack or just before bedtime snack, man, that should be just making it 8 hours. Now, you've actually got 11 hours. So get up in the morning and don't do what your mommy told you to do, which is to hurry up, roll out of bed, get some breakfast quickly so you can catch the school bus and have some food in your system so you can start learning, right? Don't do that. We are adults. We don't need to do that. So I'll tell you what I do to extend my fasting window. I get up in the morning and I take my time to get ready. Brush your teeth, take a shower, get dressed, all right? Maybe I might check my email, or I might read a few pages of a book. Or if it's a great day, I might open the door and walk outside and go for a quick walk. Bottom line is that from the time of waking up before I eat my first meal, breakfast, I try to give that an hour's time. All right. Now, let's do the math. Eat dinner at 7 the night before, finish at 8, put the dishes away, don't eat again. 8 to 11, 3 hours, don't eat. All right. 11 to 7, that's 3 hours plus 8 hours, 11 hours, no eating, fasting, insulin level goes down, metabolism shifts into race car mode to burn down excess harmful body fat. Now, get up in the morning, don't eat right away, wait for an hour. That's 11 hours plus 1 extra hours. Now, 11 plus 1 is 12. With that simple maneuver on both sides of your sleeping, okay, no eating for 3 hours before bedtime and 1 hour after getting up after 8 hours, I've gotten 12 hours of fasting in. That 12 hours of fasting, think about what that means. A whole day is 24 hours, 12 hours, half of it I've spent fasting. I've spent half my day burning down harmful extra body fat. That is actually what you can actually do very, very easily without having these wild shifts and maneuvers, and something that I find it easy to do any day, anytime. All right. Now, third tip for you in losing extra body fat is, look, if you're going to do all that, what I just told you, pay attention to your intermittent fasting, extend your intermittent fasting to 12 hours. Now, when you're going to eat, you're going to be hungry. Here's the key thing. Do not overeat. Repeat, do not overeat. All right. Because you're going to be hungry and you're going to want to load up. It's natural. It's what we're trained kind of to do. Do not do that. All right. In fact, what I want you to do to get a little extra juice out of your intermittent fasting and up your body fat burning and health gain, I want you to decrease your caloric intake by a third. All right. That means I want you to remove a third of what you would normally take on a plate. Now, before you do this, you might not even realize how much you take on a plate. We don't tend to think about it, but the next time you actually serve yourself something, a breakfast, a lunch, dinner, or go out to a restaurant, all right, take a look at how much is actually on your plate. Then what I want you to do is mentally remove a third of it, okay? And that's all I want you to eat, all right? No seconds. That's the key thing. 0, no seconds, and remove a third of what you're going to eat. Now, if you're actually putting the food on your own plate, only put 2/3 of what you would normally take and don't go back for seconds. If you're being served something that isn't your choice of how much you're being served, leave a third of the plate behind. It's all right. I call it quitting the clean plate club. All right. There's a whole history to clean plate club. I'll talk on another video at some point, but you don't need to quit the clean plate club, especially if somebody else served you that food. All right. Okay. Now you cut down caloric intake by a third. Now you've got less fuel to burn down, less extra body fat to burn down that next night of intermittent fasting of 12 hours of fat burning. You're not eating too much. In fact, you're cutting back a little bit. Now you've got less to burn off. All right. So that's the third tip. Decrease your caloric intake by about a third. Easy so far, right? 1, 2, 3. Intermittent fast. Pay attention to it. Number 2, extend that to give yourself a little bit of room on both sides. Make it 12 hours of fasting. Now, cut down your eating by a third. Whatever's on your plate size by a third. Decrease your calories by a third. All right. Now you've heard about this. The fourth one is don't eat ultra-processed foods. Cut it down, cut it out. All right. It's very hard not to eat ultra-processed foods. Honestly, it's the stuff we all grew up on. I certainly grew up on it. But I can tell you, with an open kind of mind, mindful eating, you want to actually cut down or cut out. I recommend cutting out eating ultra-processed food. What's an ultra-processed food? You probably recognize it when you see it, right? It's something in a box. It's something in a can. It's something in a plastic package. All right. It's got a lot of ingredients in it that were processed in a factory, ultra processed in a factory. So it doesn't resemble the food that it originally came from, the ingredients originally came from. All right. Great example, animal crackers. Okay. Those kind of cookies don't come out looking like horses and zebras and bears. All right. That's an ultra processed food. All right. So cut those out. And the reason is this: ultra processed foods tend to have a lot of stuff in them. Artificial preservatives, artificial sweeteners, artificial color, artificial flavorings, all right? And they have a lot of other emulsifiers and thickeners, and they've actually changed the nature of food itself in ways when you eat it, even though there might be a calorie, guess what? Some of the stuff in ultra-processed foods actually damages your gut microbiome. When you change the health of your healthy gut bacteria, right? Down the hatch, it goes, you're going to absorb it, you're going to digest it, you're going to absorb some of the nutrients, whatever's there in ultra-processed food, a lot of times not very much. The rest of it goes down to your colon, the end of your GI tract, gastrointestinal tract. And guess what? Ultra-processed foods and the chemicals in them can damage your gut microbiome. When your gut microbiome is damaged, what do you think happens? It normally lowers inflammation, healthy gut bacteria. So when you damage your gut microbiome, inflammation goes up. Your gut microbiome, normally healthy, lowers blood lipids. So when you damage it with ultra-processed food, what happens? Your blood lipids rise, all right? All kinds of things go on. When your gut bacteria are healthy, they command your brain not to overeat. They kind of are a natural joystick to help control your appetite. And when you damage your gut microbiome, guess what? The signals to your brain are changed, and so you are more likely to overeat as well. All right. So cut down or cut out ultra processed foods. And along with that, processed meats, I would actually throw that in the hopper. So we're talking about the salami, the bologna, the deli meats that you probably grew up on. I certainly grew up on them. Those ultra processed meats are packed with salt, packed with saturated fats, and packed with chemicals and preservatives and flavorings that you don't really want to have damage your gut microbiome. If there's one system in your body that you need to protect, all right, as much as you protect your children, if you have children, all right, it's your gut microbiome. You might have one or two kids, you might have a handful of kids, but you've got 39 trillion bacteria that you don't want to hurt, all right? You hurt those, your health kind of goes haywire. You're going to be optimizing your ability to lose body weight, excess body fat, if you cut out ultra-processed foods, all right? So what are the ones we talked about? Intermittent fasting, pay attention to it, extend it to 12 hours, decrease your caloric intake by a third, cut down and cut out ultra-processed foods and processed meats. All right, what's the last one I told you about? Gravitating towards plant-based eating. Specifically, what I recommend is eating Mediterranean style. What is Mediterranean style? It's the food that is eaten in the Mediterranean along with foods that are eaten in Asia. Now we're talking about a huge repertoire of fruits and vegetables and legumes and nuts and seeds and healthy oils and seafood, if you actually eat seafood, all mixed together. And you get to choose. This is the fun part and the tasty part as well, right? You get to choose plant-based foods from the cuisines of the Mediterranean and the cuisines of Asia. Start with those, build on those. You like broccoli rabe, you like artichokes, you like bok choy, you like soy, edamame, tofu. You get to choose. But the bottom line is that by choosing plant-based foods that come from either Mediterranean or Asian cuisine, I call it Mediterranean. That's my style. It's what I actually wrote about in my book, Eat to Beat Your Diet, which you should read if you haven't read about it. Like, it's all kinds of secrets on how to burn extra body fat, activating your brown fat, taking white fat and turning it into brown fat, all kinds of like cool little tips, 200 different types of foods. But if you gravitate towards plant-based eating, all right, you are increasing dietary fiber in your body. That by itself, the fiber is going to feed your gut microbiome. Plant-based foods with dietary fiber are packed with polyphenols. You know, the things that give red bell peppers, yellow peppers, orange peppers, green peppers their colorful look. It is the polyphenols that give their taste, the onion, the artichoke, all of those are bioactives. The basil, right? And by the way, basil could be Thai basil, right? Purple basil. It could be Italian basil. So you get the drift here. These are foods that are found in some of the tastiest dishes that we know. Check this out. I've got a guide on the foods to naturally balance hormones for women. I picked 5 foods that are packed with disease-fighting bioactives that are especially impactful for women, and I want to share it with you. It's yours right now for free in the caption below. All you have to do is click on the link below the video. Mediterranean or Asian, I call it Mediterranean. And look, if I were to take you out to a Mediterranean restaurant and we were to sit down and open a menu together and take a look at it, I bet you'd find something good. all right, that you can find there that's healthy and has these plant-based ingredients. It doesn't have to be all of it, but I bet they're going to be in there because that's just the way they eat in the Mediterranean, all right, especially traditional Mediterranean cuisine. And if I brought you to an Asian restaurant, we sat down and looked at the menu, I bet you're going to find something that you're going to like to eat there that contain these healthy, polyphenol-rich, dietary fiber-rich foods as well. And these are actually going to up your game when it comes to your metabolism. These polyphenols can activate your metabolism to burn down harmful body fat by activating your brown fat. You've got good fat, bad fat, white fat is bad fat, brown fat is good fat. You have polyphenols and dietary fiber, fires up your brown fat, and that firing up burns down extra body fat. That's what happens when you eat these colorful foods. Now, I got a couple of extra tips for you to think about when you want to lose a little extra poundage or burn down some of that harmful body fat. If you listen, you could be a really thin person and still have extra body fat. So here's a couple of simple tips, all right? I want you to get outside and sweat, all right? And that means that you're going to go for a walk, go for a run, get on a bike, burn some of those extra calories down. It's going to help all those other food things that I just told you to actually work a little bit better. And by the way, when you are actually sweating, you're going to be losing water. So I want you to stay hydrated. You're going to be thirsty. Don't drink soda, diet or otherwise. Drink water, coffee, tea, water. Those are the three most popular, healthiest beverages in the world. I suggest you drink water. Do not drink soda. And by the way, don't drink juice either. Juice has got a lot of sugars, and those extra calories are going to help you put on that extra body fat. So don't do that. It's just going to stack the odds against you from burning down what you want to burn down. Water, tea, coffee, all right? Staying hydrated has another advantage. It makes you feel full. And when you feel full, you are less likely to overeat. All right, because I'm asked a lot of questions by viewers like you in the comments below, I thought I'd just answer some of them here. And the question that I'm going to answer now is, Dr. Lee, what are some of the warning signs that someone may have too much visceral fat? Okay. If you have too much visceral fat is the fat that's inside the tube of your body. All right. You could have a big body, you could have a thin body, but it's still in there. A little bit is normal and healthy, but too much of that visceral fat's not good because that fat can grow around your organ. Think about a baseball glove of fat growing around your organ, become very inflammatory and very dangerous. So how do you know? All right, because it's packed inside your body. Well, the first clue that you might have excess visceral fat is that your waist circumference gets bigger. Tube of your body, you're stuffing it with fat, the fat is growing. What's going to actually happen? You're actually going to increase the width because it's pushing out against the walls inside of your tube, and now the tube gets bigger. And think about it, if you had a belt around there, you'd have to undo. You need to open up another belt loop. So when your waist circumference gets bigger, your pants feel too small. And you have to loosen your belt. That's one sign that you might have excess visceral fat. Your fat is pooching out your waist from the inside out. This is, by the way, different than the muffin top, which is kind of fat drooping over the sides. That's different. That's subcutaneous fat. Visceral fat is inside the tube of the body. Now, a much less obvious sign that you are gaining visceral fat is actually snoring. Now, why do you snore? Well, you snore when you're actually relaxing. You've got too much tissue in the back of your throat. And so when you're trying to breathe in, breathe out. If you got a lot of tissue back there and the air is going in and going out, it's basically moving the tissue around and you go, all right, that's a snore. It's because there's tissue rattling around back there. Anytime you get too much tissue, it's going to actually make that sound. So here is the thing. If your bed partner says, hey, you suddenly started to snore, you didn't used to snore before, it could be that you're gaining extra visceral fat. Now, and so here's basically where that comes from. It comes from your tongue. Your tongue can get fat, and it's one of the first places that develops visceral fat. All right. So let me explain that to you. The tongue is has three parts to it. You got the tip. Okay. The tip is like an athlete or a circus acrobat. It can do all kinds of interesting twists and turns, the tip of your tongue. All right. It's very, very athletic. It's agile. All right. The middle of your tongue is really muscular. And the reason it's muscular is because it's got to move food from the left to the right as you're chewing it. So it's got to be strong to be able to move those chunks of food while you're chewing, all right? But the last part of your tongue, all right, so we talked about the tip, we talked about the middle, and now we're talking about the last part of the tongue. The last part of your tongue is like a big fat slide, like a playground slide that kids play on, that allow food to slide, the chewed food to slide down your gullet, slide down your mouth, down to the back of your throat, down to your esophagus, or it drops down into your stomach, all right? So the tip of the tongue is an acrobat, really muscular. The middle of your tongue is strong, all right, full of muscle. And the back of your tongue, the last third, is made of largely fat, visceral fat. It's like a big pillow, big slide that allows you to have the food to slide down there. Now, when you actually gain visceral fat, you will gain it inside the tube of your body, but one of the places that you'll also gain it is actually in the back of your tongue. Now, what happens when you're sleeping? You're relaxed. And when you're relaxed, your tongue is relaxed. And when your fat tongue is relaxed, the last third of it, it actually blocks your throat. And that's how one of the early signs that you're gaining too much visceral fat could be snoring. All right. That's an interesting thing. This has been studied in young, slender women who have normal body mass index, body composition. And what they found is that actually when they started snoring, they did these DEXA scans that kind of measure body composition. They found they were gaining extra visceral fat. The next question. All right. For people who are starting at 30% body fat or more, what are some of the habits you'd recommend that people should get started on a weight loss journey? Listen, this is a really good question. And the way that I would answer it is that if you're trying to lose weight, you are going on a journey, and getting started is an important first step. Just like going anywhere, like any journey, you got to take that first step. You got to pull out of the driveway in order to be able to eventually get to where you want to go. All right. So take that first step. And then there's some subsequent steps that are actually really good in order to be able to, if you feel like you've stalled out, in order to be able to go to the next level. All right. So I'm going to give you a handful of tips of ways to actually take things to the next level to activate your weight loss, especially if you've started it and you feel like you might be wanting to do a little bit more. So the first thing you want to do is you want to actually switch to a mostly whole food plant-based diet. All right. Doesn't mean you need to be vegan. Doesn't even mean that you need to be a vegetarian. But what you should do is flip the script on how you choose animal protein versus vegetables. We are all conditioned. Like when you go to a restaurant, what's the main? What's the protein, the animal protein? And then the vegetables are on the side, and like almost an afterthought. What I recommend you do is actually choose the vegetable, which might be located on the main plate, as your primary. Like focus on that and then supplant it. Add the animal protein or the non-plant protein on the side as the side dish or the condiment. So flip the script on that and you'll instantly be eating more of a whole food plant-based meal. So that's one thing you should be doing in order to be able to push things down the weight loss journey. The second thing I think is so important to emphasize is don't put too much food in your plate. I mean, it sounds really logical, right? If you put a ton of food in your plate, and especially if you belong to the Clean Plate Club, which I tell everybody to quit, all right? There's no reason to do that. Just don't put as much food on your plate. I would say whatever your eyes want to put in your plate, whatever you're used to putting in your plate, leave a third of it off, all right? Just only take 2/3 and don't go back for seconds. And this limits the number of calories that you're putting in your body. Even healthy foods are full of calories. And so by eating less overall, you'll actually get towards your weight loss journey. It'll actually start you off in the right direction. Now, I did mention to quit the Clean Plate Club because many of us were brought up. Maybe it's your grandmother, maybe it's your mother, maybe it's the lunch lady in grade school told you to make sure you clean up everything on your plate. No reason to do that, all right? Especially if somebody else served it to you, like it wasn't your choice to pile the plate high. I know like sometimes you go to a restaurant and they give you such a monster mound of food on your plate. Not only is it wasteful, but it's not, it's not going to be healthy for you to clean that plate up. And yet, like we feel guilty if we are not cleaning that plate. I'm going to liberate you for that. I'm going to give you permission to say, leave food on your plate. It's not your problem. The server or the chef put too much food on the plate. Eat slowly. Be mindful of how much you're eating and stop when you're satisfied. Like, okay, I feel pretty good about that. And don't feel like you've got to clean the plate. And stop before you're full. Stop when you're satisfied, but before you're full. And definitely not when you're stuffed. All right. Think about your Thanksgiving meal or a big holiday meal you're at. I mean, we've all been there. You know, you've been hungry all day, looking forward to it. You pile your plate with food, you clean it up, eat all of it because you're so ravenously hungry and it's delicious. What do? You go back for seconds. I told you don't go back for seconds, and I told you not to pile your plate. But these are the holiday experiences we've all had. And you take seconds, and you know you're talking to people, and you start eating, and you know all you do is take a couple of bites of your seconds, and you'll know that you went from being satisfied to being full, and then going overboard. Now you just had even a few more bites. Boom, you are over the edge, and you're not going to feel good, and you know you're not going to feel good, right? And yet you keep on eating it, and that's really that food coma that sometimes people talk about after a big holiday meal. Don't do it, all right? And so quit the clean plate club. I'm giving you permission on doing that. The other thing, another tip is don't eat after dinner. All right, like why would you want to eat after dinner? You just had dinner, and don't no late night snacks, no dessert like really late. Don't munch on something after dinner while you're watching your favorite show, whatever it is. When you put your dishes away after dinner, or when you're done at the restaurant, you know, and you've paid your bill, that's it. You've had enough for the day. There's no reason for you to continue to eat because you've been fed. And by not having late night meals, late night snacks, late night desserts, reaching for that one last whatever before you go to bed, bedtime snack, by not doing that, you're not putting extra calories that you don't need in your body. All right. And the other important reason of eating fewer calories, not loading extra calories, is that if you eat late after dinner, you put food in your body, your blood sugars go up, your insulin will go up to chase your blood sugar because the insulin pulls the blood sugar into your cells. So you're storing the energy, all right, into your muscle, into your fat. But when the insulin's up, guess what? Your metabolism can't shift into fat burning mode. So that only happens when insulin levels are down. So when you have a late night snack, all right, or a bedtime snack, boom, you got just shot up your insulin. It's going to take a few hours for it to actually come back down. And until it comes down, your body can't burn fat. So if you want to actually take all the time to actually lose weight, burn fat, and you can do it while you're sleeping, by the way, because sleeping is fasting. When you're fasting and your insulin levels are low, your body's going to switch into fat burning mode. You don't want to be eating a late night snack because you kind of throw off the whole system. And now, even though you're sleeping, your body's still dealing with high insulin. It can't quite turn on the engine. All right. So the point is, don't eat after dinner. When you put your dishes away or you pay your bill at the restaurant, that is it for the day. You're done. All right. That's a good way to actually push getting your weight loss journey. And then finally, another really super logical, easy to do tip is to be physically active every day. All right. You don't have to have a trainer. You don't have to belong to a gym. You don't have to, be training for a marathon. Just go for a walk, 30 minutes a day, briskly. Okay. You put your earbuds in. Go ahead. Listen to some music. You can relax. Listen to a podcast. Learn something. That 30 minutes will be over before you know it. Walk deliberately, all right? Get your heart rate going. And if you're not listening to anything, go with a friend, go with a partner, go with someone in your family, go for that stroll after dinner. That's actually something you see in many of the ancient cultures where people actually have longevity, is that the older people are still very physically active. They're moving around. Walking is a good thing. We didn't evolve out of the swamp to be shaped to fit into a car or a couch, right? So go for a walk. It's actually good for you. These are some of the easy tips that you can do to lose extra weight. All right. Next question is, look, people who are trying to lose weight, they fall into a plateau. They get into a weight loss plateau. They can't seem to lose more fat. It's kind of like the rest of their fat, like stubbornly stuck there. What advice, Dr. Lee, would you give them? All right. Well, I would say if you feel like you're stuck A place you can reach that's easy to do is to start some intermittent fasting. Extend your intermittent fasting. So let me explain briefly for you. When you are eating, you're not fasting. When you're eating, you're storing energy because the food you're eating is fuel. When you put fuel into your body's metabolism fires up, and the whole job of your body at that point, when in the daytime when you're eating, and there's blood sugar, there's fuel in your body, is to produce insulin, and that insulin will draw that energy in, so you can actually use it. All right, and that's why you want your insulin sensitivity to work, because that makes your draw of fuel much more efficient. All right. Now, the key thing is that when you're fasting, not eating, insulin levels go down. And when insulin levels go down, your body shifts gears like a Ferrari, like your body's like a race car. When you're not eating and your insulin's down, you shift gears and you get into the fast lane. And now your body, the race car, is designed to burn fuel, burning fat. All right. And so basically, when you're fasting, you're actually burning fat. That's metabolically how this actually works. And although you might actually feel hungry in the beginning when you're fasting, be moderate. Don't overreach when you're eating. Extend it. You've heard about the 16-8 fast, 16 hours of not eating, 8 hours of eating. Listen, 12 hours will even make a difference. 12 hours don't eat, 12 hours eat. And if you really feel like you're stuck on a plateau, go ahead and get that 16 hours of not eating. Here's how easy it is to do. Let's say you eat dinner at 7 the night before, you stop eating at 8, put the dishes away, don't eat again. Let's say you go to bed at 11. That's 3 hours of not eating. Insulin levels go down for 3 hours. Then from 11 to 7, you're getting 8 hours of sleep, because we know 8 hours of sleep is a good number of hours. 3 plus 8 is 11. All right, that's 11 hours. Now, let's say you skip breakfast. All right, you're getting up at 7 in the morning, you skip breakfast, and you wait until noon to eat. So you're getting up at 7 and you don't eat until noon, lunchtime. Now it's 11 plus 5. All right, and guess what? That's 16 hours. So that's a simple way to build it around sleep time to be able to get that 16 hours. Now, people who really want to lose weight and are really disciplined, if you can go longer. I mean, people go on fast for more than a day. It's pretty intense. I know people who are in the cancer metabolism field will tell you that, listen, you can not eat for a day. You can go on a water fast. It does switch your whole metabolism around in a beneficial way in the beginning. And within a day or two, you'll actually start to lose weight. All right. That's just what happens when you don't eat over a period of time. Think about it. If you ran out of gas in the middle of the desert and you started walking and you were not anywhere near, and you couldn't eat it, you had nothing to eat for days, guess what? In a day or two, you're going to start dropping weight big time. And at the end of the day, they're going to find a skeleton and you'll have lost all your weight. All right. So fasting can be extended, and you want to do it probably under the supervision of a doctor. In any case, if you're going to do this kind of extreme fasting, you want to do it under the guidance of a medical professional, your primary doctor or nutritionist, who can actually guide you to make sure you're actually safe. But that's actually one thing that you can actually do, is to increase your overnight fasting. And that's how you can kind of get to jumpstart your fasting. Now, the other thing I recommend that you do is to keep a food diary, because you might find if you are on this plateau and you're saying, man, I'm actually doing everything I possibly can to lose weight. If you actually write down what you're eating every meal, what time you eat, how much you eat, what the ingredients were, all right, it's a little bit of work, but you document it for a week, breakfast, lunch, dinner, or whatever you're eating, Monday through Sunday, okay, to get that 7 days. Then step back and look at it. And I bet you will find that you didn't realize there were some things you were doing that are easy to eliminate, like certain foods you might be eating that aren't good for you, or that you're overeating, and you go, oh, you know what, maybe that's why I'm at a plateau, and address just those things. Document what you're actually doing. Take a diary. It's called a food diary. It's how researchers actually do it. And recording your food, the food that you eat, will help you identify things that you forgot about that actually prevent you from losing weight. Once you see what you're eating, how much, how often, you'll most likely have some clarity on what you can do, what steps you can take next in order to be able to actually move the weight loss to the next level. I hope you learned something that you can actually put to use, and I will see you on the next video. Dr. Lee out. Hi there. If you enjoyed watching this video, I know you'll love the next one. Stay here and check it out, and I'll see you there.